online at powellgene, Gene, at yahoo.com. Gene Powell, Pastor Mowing.
All right, thank you. 18 minutes after 11 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Beautiful looking Tuesday. Even though we were here yesterday, Robin, it feels like yesterday was a day off. Isn't it weird how in our business, if it's a day off for everybody else, but we come in, it feels like we had a day off. I don't understand that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. There's something psychological about it, right? Yep. Let's talk about something physical, something seriously physical. Diabetic neuropathy, painful diabetic neuropathy. Dr. Shai Gozani is on the phone, and I apologize to the doctor. He's listening in if I said his name incorrectly. Dr. Gozani is the founder and CEO of Neurometrics. We're going to find out what that is. He's also a researcher. He has published articles in the areas of basic and clinical neurophysiology, biomedical engineering, and computational chemistry. I don't know what any of those things are. I'm pretending I know. I'm reading things and pretending I know.
He knows what they are.
He knows what they are. So let's find out about these things and how we can perhaps be healthier and maybe do something right for ourselves and our loved ones. Good morning, Dr. Shai Gozani.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. How are you? Are you okay?
I'm great. Thank
you. Good. Well, where are you? Where are you?
I'm in Boston.
Okay. And I know before we went on the air that there was an echo issue, and if you don't mind me asking, is it okay now?
Yeah, it's fine. Absolutely. Thank you.
It's a lot better. Okay. I just didn't want you to be totally uncomfortable talking to us because I don't know what causes it, but I turn a knob and apparently it goes away. Well, thank you for being with us today. So where do I start with this? Is diabetic neuropathy, this is maybe a dumb question, but is it associated with diabetes? It sounds like it is.
Absolutely. So diabetic neuropathy is actually the most common chronic complication of diabetes. So people with diabetes, obviously, I think everybody knows, have difficulty managing their sugar levels, so-called their blood glucose levels.
Right.
But the really long-term problem with diabetes is that it damages a lot of the organ systems. And one of the most significant long-term issues is that it severely damages a person's nerves, and that leads to a lot of problems. And that's what's called diabetic neuropathy. Neuropathy is just the medical term for nerve disease, so we can call it diabetic nerve disease. And what it does is it damages the nerves, and that leads to a loss of sensation in the feet, so you can't feel your feet, and so the feet can get damaged, and that can lead to infections and so-called foot ulcers, which can lead to amputations. And you can also have severe pain, which is called painful diabetic neuropathy, which is a debilitating form of chronic pain. So it's a big, big problem for people with diabetes.
So the nature of the disease is either to make it go like a dead wire and therefore it's numb, or like a live wire and is actually painful when there's nothing causing pain. Is that accurate?
That's a great way of describing it. I view it as one of the great paradoxes of medicine, where on the one hand you're losing sensation, and then to reward you for that you also have excruciating pain. So yes, and the reason is that there's actually different kinds of nerves. Some nerves carry sensation, your ability to feel, your toes, and things like that, and other nerves carry pain sensations, and they're affected differently.
Oh wow! So as we if we can reverse the type 2 diabetes, and I don't know if this is true or if I'm believing advertisements, so help me out with this. Some advertisements say you can reverse diabetes or type 2 diabetes by right diet and stuff like that. Is that true? And I guess part B is, if it is true, will it also reverse the painful diabetic neuropathy?
You can't per se reverse type 2 diabetes, but what you can do through diet, exercise, and medications is control its progression. There are some people that are quote unquote cured, but for the most part, it's a lifelong disease, and it's a lifelong battle to keep your blood glucose levels, your blood sugar levels under control. So if reversal means semi-normalizing your blood glucose levels, then yes, in that sense, it's possible. Now, the problem with nerves are like the heart. Once the tissue, the neural tissue is damaged, it does not regenerate. Very much like after a heart attack, you have damaged cardiac muscle. Nerves do not regenerate, so what you've lost is largely gone. So the challenge is really to detect it early, to get your diabetes under control, to manage the disease, and to minimize the complications. But as far as nerve disease is concerned, there's really very little reversal possible.
Can dancers experience this? Because sometimes you hear them having accidents and then they have to stop dancing for a while and then they can get back to it. Are they a prime candidate for this?
Well, the nerves are just in general, everybody who's ever hit their funny bone and had that painful sensation and buzzing sensation has experienced nerve damage, because that's when you hit your funny bone, you're hitting your nerve as it goes through the elbow. So nerves are susceptible to damage everywhere in the body. Everybody's probably heard of carpal tunnel syndrome, for example. That's a very common condition. And dancers and other athletes can absolutely have so-called focal or local nerve damage due to whatever their physical activity is. But diabetic neuropathy is worse in the sense that it's really the nerves are deteriorating everywhere, in particular in the feet and lower legs. So there's some similarities, but what you're talking about is more of a mechanical problem versus a metabolic disorder like diabetes.
So thinking about, okay, if I get a tooth worked on and I get Novocaine, and that area of my mouth is now dead to everything, I can't taste or feel anything with it, right? If I had the painful neuropathy and an injection or whatever was done to my, let's say my foot, it would be hard to walk on a numb foot, I would think, but at least you'd be out of pain. Is that how it's handled? And how do you handle when it's numb and you want to bring back the feeling? Is there any way to do that?
Yeah, actually, you probably could temporarily block it with an anesthetic, like you're describing. But the painful neuropathy is much more extensive than that. You really won't be able to function because the pain is typically in both legs. It's in it's in both feet. It's up into the ankles. You'd have to basically, have complete anesthesia of the lower extremities, which would essentially put you in a wheelchair,
right.
Which would kind of defeat the purpose, because that's going to make you inactive, immobile, and unable to manage your diabetes. So, no, I mean, really, the way it's managed is with various kinds of medications, pain medications. There are drugs like Cymbalta, Lyrica, which have been approved for this condition. And then in some patients, they have to use opiates, OxyContin, Vicodin. Even some patients, believe it or not, are on morphine because it's that bad.
Wow.
And what we are a medical device company, and we've developed a device that is electrically stimulates the nerves to block the signal. So it's a non-pharmacologic or drug-free approach to controlling the pain. So there's a variety of different approaches, and every patient is different. Pain is such a complex entity. It's there's a physiological aspect to it, but there's a significant psychological aspect to it too. So managing it usually requires a multifaceted approach, which may involve devices like ours, medications, and other approaches like therapy and so on and so forth.
We only have a few minutes, but I want to tell you something. I was in a car accident years ago, and the doctor gave he would have me come into the office, and he would use what he called a TENS unit on me. And it was like an electric thing that it felt like it was tingling to me, but he could increase it and it would somehow cancel out the pain. Is that similar to what you're talking about?
That's the core technology, absolutely. We've developed a device specifically for people that have pain like painful diabetic neuropathy. It's based on the concept of TENS. It's such a complex and deep-seated pain that we had to develop a very powerful unit with a lot of with a lot of incremental technology to probably what you were using, but it's the same concept, which is if you stimulate the nerves electrically, you can actually activate your own pain-modulating systems in your body, and so essentially in a drug-free way, decrease your pain. It can be very effective. So that's what we've developed for this particular neuropathic pain condition.
And is this something we should be aware of more in adults than in children under 18?
Absolutely. Diabetic neuropathy is kind of a later stage complication of diabetes. It will happen in the type 1 diabetics, so but after many, many years. So this is definitely something that you're looking at more in older middle-aged and older adults, typically.
And when you do your research on this, do you actually have people come in to do the studies on?
Oh yeah, there are probably at least 5 or 6 million people in the U.S. just with this diabetic nerve pain condition, and then there's at least another 5 or 10 million other similar kinds of nerve pain conditions that we target. But this actually, our product in particular, is already on the market, so it's available and it's being used by patients all over the country.
So right now we have listeners who probably know exactly what you're talking about. They probably knew more about painful diabetic neuropathy than I'll ever know. And they were probably all ears. And the one thing they're asking me mentally, they're sending me a mental signal. They're saying, ask about the website, ask about an address or a phone number. So that's what we need before we run out of time. Can you do that?
Sure. Absolutely. We have a great website that tells you about the technology and the product. It's www.sensusrx.com.
Okay. All right. Okay, well, I guess that's all we really need to know then. Doctor, thank you so much for being on the air with us. I know that some of our listeners, we had a listener, just if I could slip this in real quickly, who knew you were coming on, and it sounded like the pain that he was having was in the soles of his feet. So I'm hoping that this information helps him out. And where are you? Did I ask you where you are? Where are you?
In Boston.
In Boston, that's right. All right. So we have doctors here who understand this technology?
Absolutely.
Well, I'm hoping. Okay. Well, if not, call Dr. Gozani up in Boston. Doctor, thank you for what you do, and thank you for being on the air with us today.
My pleasure. I appreciate the opportunity.
All right. We will take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm hoping. Okay. Well.
Broadcasting from the Paddock Mall Studios, this is WOCA, Ocala, Gainesville, The Villages, 1370 AM, 96.3 FM.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu, a California campus in mourning days after a killing spree.
Students and staff at UC Santa Barbara will attend a memorial service today, remembering the 6 classmates killed in a violent stabbing and shooting rampage through Isla Vista late Friday.
Fox Radio's Jeff Manasso.
One of those killed, 19-year-old George Chen.
I just don't know why this happened to our son. This just doesn't make any sense.
Police say Elliot Roger hurt over a dozen other people before he killed himself, and Roger's parents, after being alerted to their son's online threats to hurt people, apparently heard the news of the killing spree as they raced to Isla Vista to try and stop him.
Pleading guilty to murder in the stabbing of his girlfriend last year, Jared Remy, the son of Boston Red Sox broadcaster Jerry Remy, and a National Weather Service team heading to North Dakota in the aftermath of a tornado that hurt 9 people. Fox News, we report, you decide.
Get more control over your small business with ADT Security Services. Through June 1st, get $250 instant savings on select ADT business packages. Get 24/7 burglary monitoring, a motion detector, 2 wireless cameras, and a lot less worries about your business. Call Star ADT from your cell phone. That's Star 238. It's savings made simple. ADT, our business is helping your business. 36-month monitoring contract required. For applicable terms and conditions, visit ADT.com. Florida EF0001121.
Right now at Napa, get your favorite flavor of Valvoline Conventional or Max Life Motor Oil for just $3.59 a quart. Buy 5 quarts and you'll also get a $7 mail-in rebate. Yep, $7. Enough to get a plate of bacon with a side of bacon smothered in bacon. Now that's tasty. Conquer the job with Napa Know-How. General states pricing. Sales prices do not include applicable state, local taxes, or recycling fees at participating Napa Auto Parts stores.
Habitat for Humanity of Marion County is a ministry dedicated to improving lives